Today I thought I would talk about this trip that we went on, this place that we went to. So, a couple weeks ago we went and drove to New Mexico, and the significant thing there was that we went to the monastery, the Benedictine monastery and convent that is located in Silver City, kind of the southwest region of the state. And the reason we went is because my sister-in-law took the veil. She's been there for a little under a year now. And so she, had that, it's a big day for her and two others. That was a pretty big ceremony. They're not used to three taking the veil at once. So there was a lot of family there, and it was very exciting trip. It's a long drive where we are to that part of New Mexico. The states, Kansas and New Mexico, aren't exactly far from each other. If you're at the two tips that are near each other, it's really not much of a drive at all. But it just so happened we were opposite end of Kansas pretty much, and they are opposite end of New Mexico, and that turns into about a 16-hour drive. And when you have a 5-month-old, it's not the most enjoyable, but we had a good time overall. So this is our first time we went there, and it's just beautiful area of New Mexico. We passed through a lot of terrain that was desert and just not a lot going on. And the closer we got to here, the more there were mountains, not the kind of mountains that you would expect to see in Colorado, or, well, apparently there are these there too, but you think of, the Rocky Mountains and the snow-capped mountains and such. But this area had kind of that Appalachian feel to it. They were big, but they weren't, sharp peaked and cold and desolate. They had trees and just what you would think if you were in Kentucky or West Virginia. So beautiful area. You get there, or at least you get close to there, and it's just dirt, gravel road for about 10, I don't remember how many miles, but it's enough to make them remote, away from everyone else, and it's just quiet, and it's just, so these monks, they were there for about 30 years, I think, and they built so much up there. Built a lot of their monastery. The convent that's up there now, that's pretty new, I think about 5 years now. They built most of that, and they're still building on. The sisters there, the plan is to move themselves towards being fully cloistered. And so the monks, along with some help that come up for a few months, parts of the year, they are building a wall around just this big area. I don't know how much. I've heard 100 acres, but I could be wrong, but that's pretty incredible if they're building a wall around that large of a space. And it's just the atmosphere there is so peaceful and just so joyful. You'll be hard pressed to find people it's like a community almost. It's a monastery, it's a convent, but just this group of people that are all just so happy. They know what the decision they made in their lives. They dedicated themselves to God, and they just live peacefully there. The sisters there, they're separate from each other. Obviously, the sisters have a life of prayer. They have crops. They have animals and things to take care of. They're, for the most part, at this point, they're already mostly self-sufficient. And the same we could say for the monks. They are just incredible, the things they can do, the food that they make and grow, the projects that they work on, that they build on top of, obviously, all the spiritual life that they have. These people are just, you can't help but admire them. And they're very hospitable too. Some people, especially outside of Christianity or Catholicism, people just think of religious, like monks and nuns. They're just kind of, just walking around, just not thinking about anything around them. They don't talk to you. They just look quiet and even miserable and just not happy about anything. But these people are just smiles on their faces. They will talk to you, and they built this big guest house for people that want to visit, or if there's family for some kind of event. They will go the next step. They will make you food for lunch and dinner and bring you dessert. They're just so welcoming there. And so it's an experience that I would 100% recommend for anyone who's thinking about trying it out. And it's like a vacation too. You don't have to think, you don't have to separate your vacation you might take for the year and this, and you may not have enough time, for something like this, but that can go hand in hand. You will get much more rest, mentally and physically, going here than you would on pretty much any other vacation that people typically go on. But that's to each his own. Anyway, that part of it was fantastic. And so the ceremony, the veiling. So we were there long enough for that ceremony, and actually another one a couple days later where there was a brother there who, I think he's been there for about 2 years, he said. And he took his first official vows to actually being, like a part, like a brother in that monastery. Before that, I think the way His Excellency's Bishop Fillet was there for those ceremonies, and he described it as those first couple years the brother was there was just an idea. He's there, he's trying it out, and just seeing what it's like and what he's like. Can it work out? Is this what God wants him to do? And then these vows are, yes, this is making this idea a reality now. You're officially now becoming a brother. And that was great. So the sermons from His Excellency were just fantastic. I wish there was a way to share them. We got to get 2 sermons. So there's one for the veiling ceremony, and then there's one for the vows ceremony. And so the veiling ceremony was great. It there were the three postulants who went up. And among other things, obviously, they got their hair cut off, and then they leave, they come back in their new habits, their next step into being, before they eventually take their final vows years along the line. And so the sermon for that was very good. It was focusing on that for the most part. And then for the next ceremony a couple of days later, he was talking about the brothers, and what these vows are all about and what it all means. And then he went to another topic, and he talked about this topic, and he eventually tied it back in with the ceremony, but he started talking about the new Mass and the Latin Mass, and just why we are doing what we're doing. The Society of St. Pius X, to be specific. And I don't want to misrepresent or misquote anything he said, because I don't remember everything that great. But one part of his talk that really stuck to me was when he used an analogy. So he was saying how a lot of these people he's talked to there at the Vatican, they would say, when he would tell them, well, why is there such a mess in the church right now? Why is this going on and that going on? Why aren't less people going? Why are there fewer priests and such and such? And their main excuse would be, well, it's the world's fault. The world is what's making the church the way it is now, where it's not as strong as it used to be. And so His Excellency used an analogy where he said, imagine you see that there's a storm coming, like a big thunderstorm. Well, what do? Well, you get ready for it. So you make sure all your doors are closed to your house, make sure all your windows are shut, so when it comes, you're closed in. Nothing's going to come in. But if after the storm passes and your carpet in your room is soaking wet, what's going to be your first reaction? You're not going to blame the storm. Your reaction is going to be, who left the windows open? Whose job was it to close them? And they didn't do it, so now the rain got in and ruined the carpet. Well, the same can be said for Vatican II and Novus Ordo. This is an actual saying, an actual quote that they said. I don't know if it was at the council, but this quote was said that we have opened our windows to the world. And that right there that should be checkmate right there. No excuse. They say that they have opened their windows to the world, let the world in, and then they go and blame the world for ruining the church. And it's he just put everything so... There's a lot of, obviously, detail and knowledge, but he just put it so simply. And it's just... if you listen to it, if you're not... if you don't attend the SSPX, you don't really understand the position, this is the best explanation you're going to get. It's so clear. It makes so much sense. It's so many people think that the reason we are saying the Latin Mass is just merely because it's nicer. It just feels better. It looks better. It sounds better. It's more reverent. That's all good. But that's not even close to the entire reason. There is something deeply missing in the new Mass. There's an absence of good. There's something that's do good, which is evil. There is evil in that Mass. And when you have people, I can't think of another word, but putting this new Mass together, who are, I think there were a few Protestants they invited to help put it together. When you Protestantize the Mass, it's not Catholic anymore. I mean, should be pretty straightforward. They have said not they, but I think a Protestant he mentioned said this. This Protestant said that there's a seamless transition from this new Mass and their Protestant liturgies. Why? Why are we making it more Protestant? Why are we giving it more Protestant characteristics now than Catholic? It's just, there's so much more. I can't really say too much more about it, but that was just so clearly and eloquently put together. I wish everyone could have heard it, but that is pretty much everything I've got for you. It's just, I would recommend going there. And, maybe someday we'll go back again. But for now, that's all I got for you. Have a good day, and God bless.